Hi, I'm Shelly Cauldley, and this is my story. When I met Dean, I was running about with friends at the time, one of which worked in the NAFI in Palace Barracks, and there was this guy who just sat at the bar, blonde hair, quite quiet on his own. So we went over, and I had sat in the stool and, not with great coordination, crossed my leg and whacked him where your shin would be. I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he just looked at me, he's like, "What's wrong?" As if I was a weirdo. I says, "I just walloped you in the leg." He said, "Didn't feel it." I says, "You're more drunk than me. What are you drinking?" And he pulled up his trouser leg, and he had one leg. And I just remember looking at him going, "Here mate, that's Wicca. Where'd you get that?" And he just sort of, I remember the look on his face like, is this wee girl is she for real? So I started chatting away to him and quickly realised he had a great sense of humour and somebody that my personality just sort of bounced off. So Dean was born in Nottingham in 1984. His mum was called Helen. They moved from Nottingham when Dean was, I think, 3. They moved from Nottingham to Derbyshire, to a place called Heanor, and he worked in a sausage factory, and he had met a girl, a barmaid at the time, and her name was Rachel, and they had a little boy together, Tyler. And it was when, after Tyler was born, that Dean decided that the sausage factory wasn't for him, so he joined to Martin, and he went off to the army. Himself and Rachel, they separated, but he was still always there for Tyler. You know, Tyler was his absolute heart, and he went off and he went on his first tour, which was in 2009, and that was the tour where he lost his leg. He was out on patrol in Helmand, and he was at, like, towards the back of the line, but he stepped on an IED and there was an explosion. So Dean was ever the fighter. He's such a trooper, and a lot of people think when you lose a leg, oh, you just get medically discharged. No, not Dean. Dean loved the army. He loved being a soldier, and he was like, "This isn't stopping me." He was determined that he was going to be the first amputee to go on tour back to Afghanistan. I think because of the family aspect of the British Army, you know, your family, they were his brothers who literally stand side by side, and you know, he trusts these people with his life, and it was somewhere where he fit in and somewhere where he could be himself. August, 10 months after we met, we went to Skegness, where I was meeting his mum and dad for the first time, and Tyler, which was really nerve-wracking, you know. So this one like late afternoon, Dean says, "Let's go down to the beach. I want to show you this beach." And I was like, "Right, okay." So I was stomping up the beach because I was now huffing at this stage that my boots were completely wrecked. And we walked up the beach and I was like talking to him, but I had no reply. And I was like, "Dean, where are you?" And I turned round and he was on his knee, and in a heart it says, "Will you marry me?" And he was there with my ring. The end of August, start of September, and we went to Mexico, Cancun, and everything was, you know, great. We were loving life. Dean was having a ball, jumping in and out of the water. And I remember the one day we met this couple from England, and the guy stopping Dean because he could see that Dean had a prosthetic, and chatting to him, thanking him, you know, for his service. And the guy was crying, his wife was crying, and I could see Dean starting to really like it was shaking something up inside him. So we got up to the room and it was just continued to be a normal night. And Dean went to sleep. I was sat in the balcony, and that was the first night that his night terrors started coming back from his accident. Very quickly, November pulled round, and it was the month of our wedding. And I had joked with Dean so much on the lead up till the wedding, saying, you know, Dean, you better cry when I walk down that aisle. You know, and he was like, I'm not going to cry. When do I cry? I was like, but you better, like, cry for me. And when I turned the corner and looked up that aisle, he was standing there, 6'3", absolute blubber mess. So when we got married, and it was the best day of my life. But the terrors they kept rearing their ugly head, and Dean's temper became a bit worse. I started to feel like I was losing him. This Dean had now became somebody who I almost didn't recognise. And I was talking to people that I knew. And it came up that, okay, I think Dean has PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. It was just a very, very, very difficult time in our lives. It got so bad at one point, that's what brought me to Jesus, because there was literally no other way out of this. I remember I was putting washing away in the spare bedroom, and I just fell to my knees and cried out to God. I have no idea what I'm saying to you. I don't know how to say it, but I just know that I need help. I need you to help me. And I remember sitting in that room crying for so long, going, okay, well, it looks like he's not going to help me, so let's get up and get on. And I remember going to Asda, and I bumped into a girl who lives around the corner from my mum called Kelly. And Kelly was a Christian, and she went to Calvary Baptist. And for some random reason, she started talking about her church and how good God is. I was like, really listening. And I started to ask her questions, and she says to me, would you like to give your heart to the Lord? And I remember saying, what, here? And she was like, sometimes you don't plan. And I remember standing in that dog food aisle with her praying and repeating the words after her, and people walking past us, but the weight and the joy that I felt in that moment is something that I don't think I'll ever be able to explain. I suppose you would only know when you've been saved yourself, that feeling. There was a bounce in my step, and I felt strong, instantly strong, like I could take on the world. And then Alpha happened at UT, and my cousin Matt, he came to the church quite a lot. So Alpha started in September, and I remember coming with my mum. I remember as soon as I walked through UT's doors, I got this instant feeling like I was home, and I met friends, and they were just so supportive. Dean, the biggest atheist you'll ever meet in your life, did not believe in God. Him and Pastor Stephen had many discussions / arguments over it, but Dean was supportive. He had seen the change in me, and he always supported me. And I remember him being unwell. He had lost quite a bit of weight, and as weeks went on, Dean was increasingly sick. He wasn't sleeping. He hadn't slept in 3 weeks at this stage, and we went to the doctors, and they found a mass in his stomach. So he came back that Dean had testicular cancer. So we got sent home, and we were okay. And we It was a Friday. It was Good Friday. He was struggling to breathe, so he had went to the doctors, and the doctor had given him a letter to go get checked out. Went up to the hospital, and he was on oxygen and stuff. And I remember them putting the x-ray up and showing, and all I seen was like these like spots all over his lungs. I was like that doesn't look good. It was, his cancer was progressing and quite rapidly. So we got sent over to the city hospital, the cancer centre, and the doctor came in. He says, so we need to start chemo today. And his first round of chemo, he handled like an absolute trooper. Like, you would not think this guy was going through chemo. And he was responding so well to the chemo. Everything was shrinking and he was doing amazing. So his birthday, Dean's birthday, is the 8th of July. And he got out of hospital after completing his final round of chemo on the 7th of July. And then we got to September and he started to get headaches. And it was the 2nd of October where we were going up for his checkup at the Bridgewater Suite at the cancer centre in City Hospital. And we went in, and I remember Bodie, which was like one of Dean's doctors. He showed us a picture of Dean's brain, which was absolutely riddled with cancer, like ridiculous amounts. And I remember him turning to Dean, trying to talk to it, and you know that when everything just starts to sound muffled and your heart starts racing and you start panicking, and I'm looking at started banging the computer and all. I was like, you're wrong. To Dean, shouting at me. At this point, he was like, you need to be strong. So they were going to operate. There was complications in the surgery, but he's okay. And then he was in intensive care, and he was really, really ill, and didn't know if he was going to make it out of intensive care. So we were told that there was nothing else they could do. There was no treatment they could do. And I remember trying to ask the question, how long? But Dean being Dean, so yeah, Bodie, how long have I got left then before I kick the bucket? And he's just like, and he said 2 weeks. And I just remember holding onto his hand so tight and just glaring, really trying to hold it together and trying not to cry. We had conversations about God at this time, and I said to him, Dean, I know you don't believe, but I really need you to believe, because I really need you to go to heaven. I need to be able to see you again. I can't have you die without knowing that I'm going to meet you again. And normally Dean would be like, oh, Shelly, shut up, But he wasn't, He listened, and I was speaking to Pastor Stephen and I'd spoken to Matt, and they had come up. Pastor Stephen, he had been told numerous times by Dean, do not ask me about God or being saved again because I'm fed up. Basically, that's what he was saying. And he asked him, did he want to give his heart to the Lord? And Dean said yes. So me, Matt, and Pastor Stephen, we let him right into Jesus' arms that day, and we prayed with him, and the feeling in that room, I can't explain it. It was just wow. And when they left, there was a different look on Dean. He was at peace. I had so much more strength. He had so much more strength. and we continued to talk about God in the next few days. I woke up with this one day, the 12th of March. It was a Thursday. He's in bed and I'm lying beside him, and I fell asleep holding on to his hand. I just remember sitting up in the bed and looking for the buzzer and pressing the buzzer. And I says, this is it, Dean's going to die. And then he took his last breath and silence. And it was in that moment that I fell apart. And selfishly, here I am, 4.5 years down the line, and I didn't plan to be here 4.5 weeks down the line. I honestly thought when he died, my heart would just give up. But my heart didn't give up, though it felt like at times it did. I really had God with me that whole time, and God holding me up and being my strength when I was tired and I was weary, I didn't have any more. He was the one that got me through it. And at the time I didn't see that. It's only now, 4.5 years down the line, I can see that his hands were all over that situation. But at the time, I couldn't. I was frustrated and angry, and for a while, I suppose I lost my way. But I found my way back, and I didn't do it on my strength at all. It was all God that got me through. It was God that kept me strong for Dean and, gave me the strength to get up and do my husband's eulogy. He was my hero. And I don't just remember him today, but I remember him every single day.